Good morning, world, and welcome to the Patriot Party Show. I'm Matt, your host, and I'm so happy to be here starting off the weekend with all y'all guys and gals and guys, whichever one you want me to say first. At the Patriot Party, where truth meets every corner of the news, we bring you unbiased news that spans general news, political news, world news, financial news, tech news, and more. We cover celebrity news, gossip, sports, movies, TV shows, making sure you stay up to date with all the latest entertainment. Join our America First movement, where we put America and the Constitution first and provide unique insights and immersive content all in one place. Now, for the big announcement, we have a new Patriot Party store where you can purchase our custom graphic designed merchandise. Please check us out and support our cause. Also follow us on all our social media platforms to stay engaged. You can find links by clicking on the description of this podcast, and don't hesitate to share your thoughts or topic suggestions. Thank you for supporting the Patriot Party as we unravel mainstream media BS and offer you a fresh perspective that's not affiliated with any political parties. So we have no agenda. Thank you so much for your support. Without y'all, we wouldn't be here. Now, I just want to say one thing before we get into the news and everything else that we get into. On the store that we've just launched, the merch store, we are trying to drop a new line of apparel every Friday. That means yesterday, a new line dropped. Now, what a line consists of is, and they all match, a matching coffee cup, a matching t-shirt, a matching long sleeve knit shirt, and a matching hoodie. So every Friday we're trying to drop 4 new pieces of merchandise. Well, I mean, really the possibilities are limitless because we have lots and lots of colors to choose from. And I mean, we carry all the way from small in some instances all the way up to 5X. So we have a lot of options. So y'all please check us out and do support our cause. And now to the show. So, Aberdeen, Scotland. President Trump said he would give Russian President Vladimir Putin 10 or 12 days to reach a ceasefire with Ukraine or face more economic pressure from the U.S. as he seeks to pressure the Russian leader to the negotiating table. Trump earlier this month said he was going to give 50 days to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine or the U.S., or he would unleash a tariff package on Russia's trading partners. On Monday, he shortened that time frame. We just don't see any progress made, Trump said in Scotland on Monday as he met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. So you all know that I've been rather critical of President Trump over the last several months. Ever since Liberation Day, I felt like he took things out into left field. Well, there are some things that we're going to be critical of today, but for all you Trump fans, there are also some things in which I do agree with, and I think he did an excellent job with. And we will point that out here in a minute. And this being one, because, one, he came in and said he was going to stop the war, but, it's kind of been out of his hands. He can't make them stop. And we don't want to get militarily involved with a fight with Russia. We don't know if Vladimir Putin wouldn't use nuclear weapons. We just don't know. I mean, he's already threatened it. We don't know. He already lowered the criteria to be able to use them and said we had violated. We just don't know. The thing is that they have really been pounding on Kyiv and Ukraine, and I think that it's time for something to be done. Now, as far as this tariff package on trading partners, we looked into it the other week. Most of them are in a trade deficit with the United States, but the United Arab Emirates is in a trade surplus, which means if we put tariffs on them, we're going to actually be hurting U.S. companies because they buy more than they sell to us. So I really don't know how much pressure we can put economically because Russia has really gone to great lengths to get away from the U.S. dollar, to get away from using SWIFT, which is our international banking system. And they found ways around it. And, they partner with China on a lot of things. And we know China is our adversary. They partnered with, North Korea, I don't believe can really do much financially, but militarily, they've partnered with them and signed that adversarial NATO agreement where you mess with one, you mess with all. And I'm waiting for Iran to sign it because I've called that from the beginning. I said it's going to be the 4 axes of evil: China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. Right now it's 3. It's been 3 for a little while. So we'll see what happens there. But I do agree that we shouldn't keep kicking the can down the road. Oh, you got 50 days. Oh, you got 50. No, you need to do something or we're going to have to do something. Because at this point, we have now gone into business with Ukraine on mining rare minerals and other aspects. I had laid it out all in a previous podcast when it first came through and it was first signed, sealed, and delivered. So I do agree that he should step it up. I don't know if we can provide enough economic pressure to really bring Russia to heel, because they have gotten away from so much with the U.S. and that the U.S. controls. So whether or not it would really do anything with the trading partners, and if you up these percentages with the trading partners, in essence, you are hurting the American people. And I just don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know if that's really a threat to Russia. But one way or another, we need to get this war stopped. They've wiped out generations of Ukrainians. The average fighting age is like 50 now or something, because they don't have any youth. I don't even know how the Ukrainians are going to pass on their genes and have kids and stuff. I know men can, they're in their late age, but it's really a sad state of affairs of it there. Now, the thing that I really, really couldn't believe that Trump was able to pull off was that he delivered on a campaign promise, and we are actually going to be theming this week's merch line, accessory line, which I told you all what it consists of, on this promise, and Trump delivers. So all you Trump fans will have to check it out. It'll be the first piece of merchandise in the store that's not apolitical, constitutional, Patriot Party supportive. It'll be the first bit that actually speaks well of Trump and is based around, Trump and something that he has actually done. And this deal is signed, sealed, and delivered, as are several others of Friday morning, which we will get to later in the show. But let's talk about this EU deal. So it was announced on July 27th, 2025, and that's when it was signed. The European Union, specifically EU exporters, will pay a 15% tariff on most goods exported to the United States, including products like cars, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors. This tariff is levied on EU goods entering the U.S., meaning EU companies, not U.S. companies, are responsible for paying these tariffs. He said when he got in that they were going to be paying us. Now, this is the only deal that this is true of, that this campaign promise was delivered. I really can't believe it. That he was able to negotiate it. But then if you look at it, they were in need of our natural gas and things that we could kind of hold over their head. So he was in a position of power, in a position of strength when he negotiated this. Now, a lot of people on X have been arguing with me when I posted this, and they continue to say, AI says it's incorrect. The EU is not paying U.S. tariffs. And then I had to phrase it. You have to ask the right question to get the right answer, right? So if you ask AI or Google, is the EU paying the United States tariffs? No, they're not doing that yet. The deal has not been enacted. What you have to do is ask AI or whatever you're using to research it, under the new trade deal that Trump negotiated with the EU, will EU companies be paying that 15% tariff? Not are they doing it as in the present tense or the past tense, but are they going to be doing it under the New Deal? That's where you get your answer if you want to fact check me. Not just asking it as in present tense. That's where everybody is coming up short. So I had to literally go through each one and attach screenshots because they called me out and said when I showed them a Bloomberg article, oh, they misinterpreted it, it's misinformation. So I attached screenshots of Copilot AI and Grok AI, both saying the same thing. But you have to ask the right question to get the right answer. So if you're going to fact check me, ask that question. So in exchange, the EU has agreed to lower or eliminate tariffs on certain U.S. exports, aircraft, certain chemicals, and some agricultural projects to the EU and to make significant purchases of U.S. energy, $750 billion over 3 years, and investments like $600 billion in the U.S. Now, what I want to say is all these billions, we have to remember, except for this one over 3 years, but like I said, they needed our energy, which is great. Most of them, the Japanese deal, the trade deal, all these, where they're saying we're going to do hundreds of billions, most of them are over a half a decade to a decade, so they don't equate that much. Now, you start adding them together, they equate a little bit, but they don't really, they're not like show-stopping trillions of dollars. Now, maybe you add them all together, we'll get $1 trillion. I don't know, but then you got to do profit margins. It's not just we get to keep their whole investment. You have to do the profit margins from what they're investing in, which is not going to be anywhere near what they're investing. You figure a 10 to 40%, closer to a 15% markup on most things if you do an average. And that's just out of my head. I mean, I've checked on several things, and it ranges. There's a range from like 3 to 5% on infrastructure things, I think, all the way up to 30 or 40% on tech items. So, I just average it out. The deal also maintains higher U.S. tariffs, 50% on EU steel and aluminum, while some goods like aircraft parts and certain generic drugs face zero tariffs from both sides. There is no indication in the agreement that U.S. companies are responsible for paying the 15% tariffs on EU goods. These tariffs apply to imports from the EU paid by the EU exporters or passed on to U.S. importers who then pass them on to customers. So for a lot of goods, the EU is paying it. Okay? But there is a caveat. There is a caveat to agreements like this. There could be what they call a ripple effect, which would mean EU exporters go up on the prices to the importing companies and people in the U.S. to cover the tariff. So in essence, the tariff does get passed on to U.S. importers. But that is speculation because they also have the option of going up on prices to the EU consumer. So I don't know if they'll split it down the middle. It's kind of speculation right now. We don't know. But what is signed, sealed, and delivered is that they are going to be paying the U.S. government tariffs to ship products into the U.S. A lot of people wanted to say you can't make them. No, we didn't make them. They agreed to the deal. So I encourage anybody who has doubts on what I'm reporting, fact check me, but fact check me how I told you to at the beginning of the story. You have to ask the right questions. You have to. So, Epstein's partner, Maxwell's conditions to testify before Congress. So now we have a pedophile, accomplished for pedophile, a pedophile making conditions. But the plot thickens. It gets more and more what they call sus. What the young kids are calling sus. Last week, we spoke about the suspicious appearance of the DOJ interviewing Maxwell before she testified in front of Congress. Now she has come out with these conditions. She came out with these conditions after she met with the DOJ. She is currently serving, we've talked about, a 20-year prison sentence and has an appeal pending at the U.S. Supreme Court. The High Court could decide in September whether it would hear Maxwell's appeal. Maxwell asked Comer to schedule any testimony from her for after the Supreme Court has addressed her appeal and after a separate court appeal she is planning to resolve. We're talking years. If she's saying, well, I'm going to do another appeal after this one, this stuff takes forever to work its way through the court. She's basically putting up a stopgap to testify in front of Congress. She is also requiring the House committee to provide its questions to her in advance, saying that arrangement will let her prepare and identify documents that could corroborate her answers. Here's where the plot really thickens. So first the DOJ visits her. Then she comes out with all these demands to testify. Now she says, alternatively, whatever, Maxwell indicated she is willing and eager to testify before Congress if President Donald Trump grants her clemency according to the letter. Not only did she say Trump has the power to pardon Maxwell or to communicate her sentence, Trump said that. He's like, oh, I haven't thought about it, but I do have the power. Now that, to me, really stinks of corruption. And to me, far surpasses just suspicion, is the fact that these conditions were made after her meeting with the DOJ. Now, there's the facts. You take with them and do what you want. Do what you will. But to me, it's very, very, very suspicious and stinks of corruption. The U.S. economy grew by an annual rate of 3% in the second quarter, a strong showing boosted by a slowdown in imports amid ongoing trade turmoil. New data from the Commerce Department this morning shows a significant pickup from the first 3 months of the year when the economy contracted by 0.5%. Now, economists warn that the latest figures, which were boosted by tariff-related swings in trade, is likely painting a more upbeat picture of the economy than is warranted. American businesses purchased far fewer imports, which ends up counting against the GDP in the second quarter because they had already stocked up on foreign goods earlier in the year ahead of President Donald Trump's threatened tariffs. A corresponding surge of overall exports made up the bulk of the economy's recent strength. It's hard, now this is in quotation, it's hard to know exactly what's happening because the whole tariff war is leaving a real imprint on macroeconomic data, said Lorena Urcia, chief U.S. economist at T. Rowe Price. But the picture isn't as rosy as a 2 or 3% growth rate would indicate. The U.S. economy has been surprisingly resilient, even as inflation, policy uncertainty, and heightened recession fears have weighed on recent. None of us has a crystal ball, and we are in uncharted waters. A lot of what's to come will depend on Trump's trade deals, which he came down after this story and after I spoke on it, and just yesterday morning, and we will get into that later in the show. I don't believe it's a good thing, but we'll get into the details. When this story came out, I said if we can get more deals like the EU one, I believe the economy will continue to prosper. If we get more like the one with Japan, I believe American companies and citizens are in for some hard times. Now, as you know, as the stories unravel, as they unfold, as they come on the newsfeed, I get them, I research them, I comment on them. So this was commented days before what Trump did on Friday morning, which we will get into later in the show. But I encourage anyone who wants to hear the extensive breakdown on the tariff deal with Japan to listen to episode 39, to listen to Patriot Party episode 39. We break down the whole deal and why it's not a good deal and why it's going to hurt automotive companies like Ford, Chevrolet, U.S. companies. The Federal Reserve holds key interest rates steady as it monitors Trump's tariff policy. Now, Trump's been after him to lower the rate, but they don't fold to political pressure. The central bank has said Trump's tariffs are making it difficult for it to lower rates, something that would otherwise be called for amid signs of slowing economic activity. The Federal Reserve said on Wednesday it was leaving its interest rate unchanged, a widely expected move that comes despite enormous pressure from the Trump administration to lower it. The Federal Reserve is taking a similar stance as me at that point. Wait and see what Trump's going to do. He's been so erratic so far, no one can make plans. Changing deals after they've been made on Truth Social, there's so many erratic things that have happened that nobody can really plan. So the Federal Reserve is like me, and they say, well, let's see what happens. Well, I don't think anything good is going to come out of what happened when we get into it later in the show. Why are the feds waiting? Because they said Trump is a wild card. The Trump administration escalated its pressure campaign against Brazil on Wednesday. We also went over that in a prior episode. It was either 39 or 38. I can't remember which one, but it should be in the description. Announcing sanctions against a judge overseeing criminal proceedings against former leader Jair Bolsonaro and raising tariffs on the country to 50%. President Trump on Wednesday signed an executive order implementing a 50% tariff on goods from Brazil. In a fact sheet, the White House said the tariffs would address Brazil's policies towards U.S. tech companies, including unusual and extraordinary policies and actions harming U.S. companies, the free speech rights of U.S. persons, U.S. foreign policy, and the U.S. economy. Bull, bull, bull. I call BS. You're trying to control the justice system of a sovereign country. Now, there is something that you can do it legally with. Yeah, okay. And that's why you're calling, this and that and this and that, and I call BS on that. Because it was all about quotation witch hunt. That's what it was about when we broke the story to begin with. Here's how the 50% tariffs on Brazilian imports are hitting U.S. businesses. The coffee industry. Brazil supplies 30% of U.S. coffee imports, making it the largest source. Small roasters and cafes are struggling with rising costs and supply uncertainty. Some predict price hikes for consumers within months if the tariffs remain. Agriculture and food. Brazilian fruit exports like mangoes, citrus, and grapes are being rerouted, causing oversupply and price drops elsewhere. U.S. importers face higher costs and fewer options, especially during peak season. Aviation and manufacturing. Aircraft maker Embraer, a major supplier to U.S. airlines, may cancel or delay deliveries. U.S. companies relying on Brazilian iron ore, pulp, and industrial inputs are seeing cost spikes. Broader business impact. Some U.S. firms are stockpiling inventory to avoid future costs, tying up cash flow. Others are scaling back operations or passing costs to consumers. The uncertainty is making it harder to plan, invest, or secure financing. The true pain on American industry will be felt when Brazil puts a reciprocal 50% tariff, which it said it will do, on American imports into Brazil, because it's one of the few countries that has a trade surplus of American goods. It imports more than it exports. It buys more than it sells. Fallout industries are mainly agriculture, manufacturing, and aviation. This hurts farmers and middle-class workers, y'all. I keep saying the tariffs are a tax. So you're hurting us coming in, and you're hurting us because we can't sell as much now. And why? Why? Because what you said is BS. Really, this is about control and you like the guy and you don't want to see the left party, the liberal party, charge a right-wing guy for a coup, and they have a mountain of evidence. We went through it on the episode where we went through this whole thing where the story broke. Trump imposes a 25% tariff on India plus penalty over ties to Russia. U.S. President calls Delhi a friend but criticizes policies such as buying arms and energy from Russia amid Ukraine war. Here we go again. We criticize the U.S. for policing other countries and trying to turn them democratic when they're never going to be democratic, and policing the world. Well, aren't we, in essence, doing the same thing with tariffs, trying to police the world and say we don't like who you purchase from, so we're going to do this? The 25% tariff on Indian goods would increase costs for U.S. industries reliant on Indian imports, particularly pharmaceuticals, auto parts, electronics, and jewelry, leading to higher consumer prices and potential supply chain disruptions. J.P. Morgan estimates this could risk negative real disposable income growth and reduced consumer spending in 2025. Tariff revenue, which is a tax paid by importers and consumers, could add up to $400 billion. I mean, they're touting that. But you're taking our money. But retaliatory tariffs from India and trade uncertainty may offset gains by harming U.S. exporters and investment. Strategic sectors like healthcare and automotive face the most harm. This is another reason, another example of why the Federal Reserve isn't lowering interest rates. It's too much uncertainty. And we will get into much, much more of this uncertainty coming up a little bit later in this episode. Just here in a minute, actually. Just a little over 2 weeks ago, Trump threatened Mexico with a 30% tariff if a deal wasn't reached by August 1st. Now he has extended that deadline, that tariff deal deadline, by 90 days. Now, at this time, that was fueling speculation that he could announce pauses for dozens of other countries that face punitive higher import duties. That's not the case. Let's get into the story as the story is breaking. President Donald Trump on Thursday formalized the array of high tariff levels and trade deals he has announced in recent weeks, the latest escalation in his attempt to disrupt and reshape the global economic order. In a sweeping executive order, Trump made official his agreements with prominent trade partners such as the European Union, Japan, South Korea, the United Kingdom, and the Philippines. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said he was disappointed that Trump had decided to hike tariffs. Now, these are our allies, from 25 to 35% on all goods not covered by the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement. He rejected Trump's rationale, and so do I, that the tariffs were a response to the cross-border flow of fentanyl into the United States. But Canada only accounts for 1% of this. 1%. These tariffs are really, under the Constitution, supposed to be handled by the legislative branch. Well, Trump has been using a special act which would allow him to do it around the fentanyl. Now, somehow he's extended the level in which he can do it everywhere, but there's some deals going on in the world court, and I'm trying to stay on top of them. I didn't want to report on what may or might be, but it's coming up. I think they had to appeal the decision because the world court's like, no, this is not, you can't do these sweeping tariffs. They violate all sorts of trade agreements. Stock markets across the world dropped on early Friday in response to the upheaval from modest dips in the United Kingdom and Germany to larger falls in Japan and most dramatic, South Korea. The market dropped almost 4% since opening. Trump believes taxes on imported goods will erase trade deficits and bring back manufacturing to the United States. He has touted the $125 billion in revenue his already existing import taxes have bought in. That's from us, with hundreds of billions more pledged by a handful of countries in the form of investments. Yet it has come at a cost of slower economic growth and the prospect that already stubborn inflation will reheat. Trump continues to tout large-scale investments and purchases from the United States like the EU deal and the Japanese deal being hundreds of billions of dollars. But like I said, the caveat is that these deals are laid out over a period of 5 to 10 years. So it's really not that much each year, especially when you deal with profit margins and taxes paid. And most of them are purchasing things that we already manufacture. They're not bringing in additional manufacturing to the U.S. In essence, we are just taxing the U.S. people. And to me, it's almost like that's the goal, because realistically, we're not going to bring back textiles. It's almost like the goal is to bring in more money by taxing the small and mid-sized businesses and American people. Now, this next article is encouraging. It encouraged me. The Senate Banking Committee on Tuesday unanimously advanced a huge housing bill aimed at boosting the supply of homes in the U.S. Now, this is why it matters. This is why I was encouraged. It's a rare moment of bipartisan agreement and a sign of how bad the real estate market has gotten in the U.S., where home prices have soared and there's an ongoing shortage of affordable homes. Because this agreement, well, one, it cuts red tape. It provides its provisions in the Road to Housing Act. But the biggest thing is Democrats and Republicans agreed on the need for deregulation, and they came together. They crossed the aisle, y'all. And that is almost something at this point in history that doesn't happen, because we got right, and we got left, and we don't have many centrists. We don't have the Joe Manchins anymore. They're dinosaurs. So very, very rarely do Democrats and Republicans come together. But they did on this. They did on something that was good for the American people. It's hopeful. I don't know how many times it'll happen, but it's hopeful. This next story is unbelievable. You know, I've said so many times when you listen to a lot of the Democrats talk, but I called out Democrats because at the time this was what was happening. You know, last year when you listened to the story that Nancy Pelosi was the mastermind behind 9/11, I called BS on that. You know, I've seen her, got videos of her in town halls where she's under a little bit of pressure and she's spinning like a top. You had, oh man, the name's slipping my mind right this second. Anyway, I'll hopefully remember in a minute, but you had this one Democrat senator saying that they weren't going to confirm Trump as Raskins. You had Raskins saying they weren't going to confirm Trump as president. They were going to enact Civil War conditions. They were going to tell MAGA that it didn't matter if they voted. He doesn't qualify, and the whole ordeal was ridiculous. I'm sitting here thinking, these people are supposed to be lawyers, but they don't even know the Constitution. Where did they get their law degree? A Cracker Jack box. Had to be. I mean, it's no different than the girl, Jasmine Crockett, and out of Dallas, Texas, saying, and she's got her law degree, it is not illegal to illegally cross the border. Yes, it is. It's a felony. It's in federal law. But, you know, you have things said like that. Well, now you got a guy who, up till this point, the things I've heard him say were reasonable, and he seemed like a heck of a debater and somebody that could really tear somebody apart. But he comes out and he says something, and this is so ridiculous. So ridiculous. This would be challenged on so many levels. Senator Josh Hawley's proposal is to distribute $600 tariff rebate checks exclusively to Trump blue-collar voters and not to Biden voters. This raises significant legal and ethical concerns as it appears to discriminate based on political affiliation, potentially violating principles of equal protection under the law and the nonpartisan distribution of federal funds. This is idiotic. Well, one, $600 We're going to spend more than $600, y'all. We're going to spend more than $600. They're trying to appease us. It's kind of similar to when we got that $14 or $16 COVID check, and all the economists said you don't need to. The market's done contracting. It's going back up, and they did it anyway. And it killed us with inflation, so we ended up with $1,600. But when you broke it down, the inflation went up so high, and it was a large part. That was one of the largest parts of the reason that it went up so high, that households were paying $10,000, $11,000 more for the same products before that. Well, $600 is kind of the same thing. We're going to be paying thousands more each year to live, but they want to do that. But what kills me is you want to do that for Trump voters, which violates all sorts of stuff. The idea of tariff rebates contradicts previous Republican claims that tariffs are paid by other countries, not American consumers. This shift in narrative suggests an acknowledgement that tariff increases cost for American importers and consumers, which could fuel inflation as similar stimulus measures have in the past. We just said that. According to economic analysis and historical data, Hawley's legislation, inspired by President Trump's suggestion, that's where it came from, aims to use tariff revenue to provide financial relief, but the selective distribution based on voting behavior could exacerbate political divisions and undermine the integrity of government programs, potentially leading to legal challenges, it would definitely, and public backlash as it deviates from the norm of equitable economic policy implementation. This will never fly. It'll never, even if it goes through, it won't fly. So let's get to finance for the week. Market movements. Stocks hovered near record highs as investors reacted to the Fed's decision to hold interest rates steady. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ both posted modest gains. The 10-year Treasury yields remained flat, signaling cautious optimism about the U.S. economy. Federal Reserve update. We know the Fed's held the interest rate, held strong on that. Corporate earnings. Meta and Microsoft delivered blowout earnings, sending their stocks soaring. Microsoft also unveiled a new AI-powered Copilot for its Edge browser. Tesla faced a triple whammy of setbacks, including disappointing delivery numbers and regulatory scrutiny. Global trade and tariffs. Volkswagen cut its guidance after taking $1.5 billion hit from the U.S. tariffs. India and the U.S. are nearing a trade deal, with India seeking preferential tariffs. Meanwhile, the UK-India agreement is expected to boost trade by $34 billion annually. Analyst moves and stock picks. JP Morgan downgraded Procter & Gamble, citing concerns over consumer spending. Oppenheimer upgraded Carvana, projecting nearly 40% upside. Piper Sandler initiated Palantir at overweight, calling it a secular win in the AI revolution. Now let's get to the tech news. Big tech earnings and AI moves. Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Meta. We know about their reportings, with investors laser focused on AI growth, cloud performance, and consumer demand. Microsoft launched, we know about the Copilot, we just did that. ChatGPT added a new study mode designed to encourage real learning with hints and self-reflection prompts instead of direct answers. Quantum and AI breakthroughs. Quantum unveiled Gen Q AI, the first ever quantum-generated data framework for AI, marking a major leap in combining quantum computing with artificial intelligence. China's DeepSeek startup shook up the AI scene, causing NVIDIA stock to drop 17%. Woo! And we just reported how they had the biggest hold on the market at being the first $4 trillion company. I'm sure that took them under that. And how they've gone up 1,500%. Now they're losing almost 1/5 of that, which takes off several 100%, in which they went up, sparking debate over cost-efficient AI development. Consumer tech and gadgets. Google's Notebook LM now turns your notes into narrated slideshows, perfect for presentations or study sessions. New haptic tech from USC adds realistic touch sensations to virtual reality, opening doors for immersive remote work and education. Tiny smartphone spectrometers developed by researchers can measure light across a broad spectrum, potentially revolutionizing mobile diagnostics. Man, the tech they're coming out with. Science and innovation at the Dominican Science and Tech Week. Yale's Dr. Sten Berman spotlighted future vaccine tech, mRNA, nano patches, nasal sprays, and the role of AI and drones in global health. Wow, and nanotechnology. Curved neural networks emerged as a new AI memory architecture using geometric designs to enhance recall and performance. Viral tech moments. A kiss cam incident at a Coldplay concert went viral after catching a tech CEO and an HR head in an awkward moment. The fallout led to a resignation and a wave of memes and merch. So sports. Let's get to sports for the week. NFL training camp highlights. Tennessee Titans rookie quarterback Cam Ward had a roller coaster week, multiple interceptions and padded practice, but flashes of brilliance in 7-on-7 drills. Will Levis opted for season-ending shoulder surgery, while Lorenzo Carter retired and Traylon Burks was waived after a shoulder injury. Titan fans got their first look at Ward in action at Nissan Stadium with standout plays from Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett. Golf spotlight. The AIG Women's Open made history by being held in Wales for the first time ever. Rising star Lottie Wold is turning heads after recent wins in Ireland and Scotland. World number one Nelly Korda celebrated her 27th birthday with a practice round at Royal Porthcawl. Final qualifying saw 17 players advance, including Anna Hong and Aprikaya Ubel. MLB trade deadlines drama. The Phillies landed Wilyer Abreu in a buzzy trade, while the Cubs picked up Michael Soroka. Ryan McMahon walked it off for the Yankees in a thriller, and Salvador Perez delivered a clutch win for the Braves. WNBA action. Nafisa Kohler dropped 30 points to lead the Lynx past the Liberty in a final rematch. John Cole Jones and Sabrina Ionescu made highlight reels despite Liberty's loss. Aquatic and Olympic sports. Katie Ledecky won her 22nd world title in the 1,500-meter freestyle at the World Aquatics Championship, and teenage phenom Summer McIntosh beat Ledecky in the 400-meter freestyle, signaling a new rivalry. Tennis and U.S. Open buzz. Venus Williams received a wild card entry to play mixed doubles with Riley Opelka at the upcoming U.S. Open. Combat sports. Manny Pacquiao, legend boxer, age 46, returned to the ring for a title shot, but ended in a majority draw against Mario Boris. 46 is, I mean, that's up there to be, be doing high level contact sports. Celebrity news and gossip. Breakups and relationship drama. Jana Craig and Kenny Rodriguez from Love Island, USA confirmed their breakup via cryptic text, sparking a flurry of reaction from fellow castmates. Yinger Duggar's husband, Jeremy Velo, opened up about a deep betrayal early in their marriage, adding an emotional depth to their public image. Farewells and tributes. The Osbourne family gathered for a tearful farewell to Ozzy Osbourne, with Sharon, Kelly, Jack, and Amy attending the public funeral procession in Birmingham. A baby rhino in California was named after Ozzy, honoring the late rocker in a wild and adorable way. Rare appearances and family moments. January Jones stepped out with her 13-year-old son, Xander, in a rare public appearance, drawing attention for her openness after years of privacy. Tristan Thompson shared rare photos of 3 of his children together, giving fans a glimpse into his family life. Career moves and new projects. Matthew McConaughey announced a Poems and Prayers book tour, blending his signature style with literary flair. Heather Ray El Moussa addressed the cancellation of Flipping El Moussas following HGTV's shakeup of its renovation lineup. Viral moments in social media buzz. Miranda Kerr showed support for Katy Perry after her split from Orlando Bloom, proving exes can be civil and even sweet. Pedro Pascal's affectionate behavior towards co-star sparked debate about boundaries and comfort in Hollywood. New movies. Movies releasing in the U.S. for yesterday and today. The Naked Gun releases August 1st. Genre action comedy crime. It's available in theaters. The Bad Guys 2 releases August 1st. Genre animation adventure available in theaters. Omniscient Reader, The Prophecy, released August 1st. Genre action drama available in theaters. And Broken releases August 2nd. Genre drama available in theaters. Now we have some upcoming releases for August 8th through 15th. Weapons releases August 8th. Genre horror mystery available in theaters. Freakier Friday releases August 8th. Genre comedy fantasy available in theaters. Red Sonja releases August 13th. Genre action drama available in theaters. Nobody 2 releases August 15th. Genre action comedy available in theaters. Now here's streaming and special releases. Together, starring Dave Franco and Alison Brie, available to stream online, featured on Rotten Tomatoes. Romeo and Juliet, Met Summer Encore 2025, showing in select theaters and opera venues. New TV shows just released or releasing this week, which was yesterday and today. Eyes of Wakanda, Disney, August 1st, animated drama exploring the legacy of Wakandan warriors across time. Chief of War, Apple TV, August 1st. Let's see. Historical drama starring Jason Momoa as a Hawaiian warrior fighting colonial forces. Perfect Match, Season 3, Netflix, August 1st. Reality dating show returns with new singles and wild challenges. Stillwater, Season 4, Apple TV+, August 1st. Gentle animated series about mindfulness and friendship for kids. Beyond the Bar, Netflix, August 2nd. Drama series set in a high-powered law firm with secrets and scandals. Naming the Dead, National Geographic, August 2nd. Docuseries investigating unidentified victims and forensic breakthroughs. Heart and Hustle, Houston-owned, I think that's Oprah Winfrey's network. August 2nd, unscripted series spotlighting entrepreneurs and creatives in Houston. And then for coming soon, we have The Yogurt Shop Murder, HBO, August 3rd. True crime docuseries revisiting a chilling 1991 case in Austin, Texas. King of the Hill, Season 14 on Hulu, August 4th. Beloved animated sitcom returns with new episodes and a new network. Tim Rex in Space, Nickelodeon, August 4th. Kids animated series about a space traveling dinosaur and his quirky crew. Hard Knocks off season with the Buffalo Bills, August 5th. Behind the Seasons, look at the Bills off season moves and locker room drama. Wednesday, Season 2, Netflix. The Addams Family's goth daughter returns with more mystery and mayhem. Platonic, Season 2, Apple TV Plus, August 6th. Comedy about two best friends navigating life, love, and awkward boundaries. Outlander, Blood of My Blood, stars August 8th. Prequel to Outlander, diving into the love story of Jamie Fraser's parents. And now to the pick of the week. To Catch a Killer. This is a good movie. It is a gripping 2023 crime thriller directed by Damon this is a hard pronounced name. Schifrin? I think it's Schifrin. It stars Shailene Woodley and Eleanor Falco, a gifted but troubled Baltimore cop who's recruited by the FBI to help track down a ruthless mass shooter. The film dives deep into the psychological toll of manhunts and the systemic challenges of law enforcement, blending suspense with social commentary. You can find it streaming on platforms like Netflix or available for rent or / purchase on Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and other major digital retailers. I believe I watched it on Netflix. Thank y'all for tuning in today, and I hope you have enjoyed this episode. And like I said, check out the new merch store. The link is on the description page. Take you straight there. Putting out a new line today. All you guys and gals stay safe. The Patriot Party, where truth meets every corner of the news. We'll be back at you with some special interviews coming up this week. And then I'll be here same time, same place next Saturday to bring you up to speed on this next week. Y'all have a great, great day.